that literally took my blood pressure from 170 over 100 to literally 117 over 80, sometimes some 117, 115 over, 70.
In today's video, Dr. Bobby Price, a certified plant-based nutritionist, exercise physiologist and doctor of pharmacy, shares 5 simple secrets he used to conquer high blood pressure.
Most people who have high blood pressure don't even know they have high blood pressure. And most people who have a stroke or a heart attack without even knowing they have high blood pressure. Okay, so this is why it's so important to first get informed.
High blood pressure, known as the silent killer, often goes unnoticed while causing serious damage. As a leading cause of nearly 500,000 deaths in the US each year, it's crucial to take it seriously. Before we dive into Dr. Bobby Price's 5 life-changing secrets, let's hear his valuable insights on this condition.
I think it's important to first get informed so you understand what high blood pressure is, because a lot of people do exactly what I did. The doctor tells them that their blood pressure is a little bit high and they brush it off, because most of the people in the family have high blood pressure and they see them walking around, no problem. And so in their mind, they're thinking like, well, a little high blood pressure won't kill you. But again, it's the #1 risk factor for the #1 cause of human death. High blood pressure isn't just pressure that's high in the body and is not doing anything, okay? High blood pressure stiffens the blood vessels. It makes the blood vessels more stiff instead of being more elastic and movable, okay? And when it begins to crack, now you lose all the pressure, okay? You can have a heart attack, you can have a stroke, etc. It promotes the buildup of plaque in the arteries, okay? Not plaque on the teeth, but plaque in the arteries, okay? And that plaque can eventually break away from the walls of the arteries and block off that artery or blood vessel, and that will lead to you having a heart attack, okay? That could potentially even lead to you having a stroke.
Dr. Bobby Price warns that high blood pressure isn't just a concern for older adults. It's becoming increasingly common in people under 44, mainly due to lifestyle choices.
If you walk into a room now and the room is filled with people between the ages of 20 and 44, 1 out of 4 people, 25% of the people are going to have high blood pressure, and most aren't going to know it.
Let's do a quick fact check. Did you know long-term high blood pressure has also been linked to memory loss and a higher risk of dementia as we age? Now, let's explore Dr. Bobby's 5 secrets to eliminate this disease from your bodies. Stick around for the 5th one. It's a shocker. Dr. Bobby recommends maintaining adequate vitamin D levels to help manage blood pressure.
Roughly 70% of African Americans and people of color have low vitamin D, or at least suboptimal levels, okay? And vitamin D plays a key role in converting an enzyme in the kidneys, okay? Because when you get vitamin D, it hits the skin. It has to have magnesium to convert it there. It then has to go through the liver to be converted. That sunlight, when it hits the skin, goes to the liver to be converted. Then it has to go through the kidneys to be converted. And now you have vitamin D, the active form of vitamin D. Well, if you don't have healthy kidneys, as I mentioned before, now you can't convert this, sunlight into vitamin D, the active form. Okay? So you can see how having low vitamin D and you won't have this enzyme, now you're going to have high blood pressure, because now it's going to start to affect your kidneys as well too. Okay? Dysbiosis. Now that's what I just mentioned before. Dysbiosis is having a lot of bad bacteria in the gut and not enough good. Okay? So having dysbiosis in the gut can cause your blood pressure to be high.
Having explored the importance of vitamin D, let's now turn our attention to another key player in blood pressure management: caffeine.
You gotta eliminate things that are causing stimulation to the body. Things like caffeine, coffee, okay? That will increase your heart rate, which will increase your blood pressure. So eliminate, and not only that, coffee will also be dehydrating to you, and dehydration will dehydrate the kidneys, put more pressure on the kidneys, increase the blood pressure in the body.
Caffeine isn't the only thing you should steer clear of to crush blood pressure. Let's take a look at this one.
processed foods. As I mentioned before, processed foods are relatively a new thing. They didn't really come into play until like the 1950s after World War II, when, they were using scientists to create processed foods for the soldiers who were fighting, because one of the big things about wars that they knew was that a lot of the soldiers died not from, being shot, stabbed, or killed. They were dying as a result of malnutrition. Okay, so they created a lot of these processed foods so that when they dropped them, they would last long enough. Okay, and then they sold that or gave that information to the food industry, and then you have this big boom of processed foods. But ever since that time, the 1950s, you have seen an increase in cardiovascular disease. That's when you saw cardiovascular disease become the #1 cause of death in the US, and then later on become the #1 cause of death for human beings in general around the world.
Having looked at processed food, let's now talk about the fourth secret, which is to avoid refined carbohydrates. And here's why.
Removing white flour and refined carbohydrates. The reason why this one is so important is because white flour, refined carbohydrates increase insulin in the body. Okay, and now when people think about insulin, they think about diabetes. They don't think about high blood pressure. But here's why this is important. Increases in insulin will increase blood pressure. Why is that? Because an increase in insulin causes renal sodium to be reabsorbed. So you absorb more of that salt. Sodium, salt, okay? You absorb more of that salt back into the body. Sodium will cause you to retain fluid. Think of it like a balloon. The more and more water you put in the balloon, it creates more and more pressure to the point that the balloon will pop if you add too much water. Okay, so more sodium, more salt. You're gonna cause more water to stay in the body.
And here's that shocking fifth secret. Dr. Bobby wants you to avoid consuming it immediately if you want to improve your blood pressure.
The standard American diet is 60 to 70% processed foods, and that processing comes with food chemicals, and a large majority of those food chemicals are things like salt, okay? Not the salt you use with the shaker, but they're putting salt in it to preserve it, okay? And most people don't know how to read food labels, so they don't even know how much salt is in it, okay? And most people eat so much processed food, they're not actually adding it all up throughout the day, so they don't know how much salt they're consuming throughout the day as well, too.
Dr. Bobby Price's strategy for crushing high blood pressure revolves around 5 key secrets. He emphasizes the importance of maintaining adequate vitamin D levels, which can help manage blood pressure effectively. Next, he highlights the role of caffeine and processed foods, both of which should be limited to support cardiovascular health. The fourth secret focuses on avoiding refined carbohydrates to prevent spikes in blood pressure. Finally, he warns against the use of NSAIDs, as they contribute to increased blood pressure and negate progress. Together, these secrets form a holistic approach to managing and overcoming high blood pressure. Start improving your blood pressure today by inhibiting Dr. Bobby's secrets in your routine life. Also, don't miss out on our next video as we continue to share the path to personal health. Life's better with a healthy buzz.